calling the dog to you. So, yes, that's very good, honey. So when we call the dog to us using the word come, that's another word that people tend to use because it's just in our vernacular and we want the dog to come to us, so we say come. But the dog may not know what that word actually means, and so you're yelling come, and the dog's like, hi, I'm over here, this is great, and they don't come to you. So, what you want to be careful of is that you do not make come a toxic phrase by only following it up with unpleasant things. So let's say my dog got into something they shouldn't have and I'm mad at them and I want to put them in the kennel. If I call their name and say come and then I put them away in the kennel, I'm tainting that cue with my upset at the puppy and then putting them in the crate as a punishment. That's not to say that you can't use the kennel as a punishment, but if you need to put them in the kennel for something, I would just walk over and grab them by the collar and herd them into the kennel, or put the drag line on them and walk them into the kennel, because if I always say, come here, or come, and then I put them in the kennel because I'm upset, the dog is going to start avoiding that word because I only use it when I'm angry. If I have a fenced-in yard, and I let the dog out in the yard, and then I want them to come back inside, and I say, come every single time that I want them to come back into the yard, they may stop listening to that cue because it means the end of fun time outside. So what I can do to help avoid that is I can call them to me when they're in the yard, yay, what a good dog, and then release them back into the yard to continue to play. That's something I would do when I have the time to do it. I'm not going to necessarily do that when it's 7 o'clock and I'm trying to get to work on time. It's okay for you to do something like have a squeaky ball and squeak that at the door to help bring the dog to you to the door. You should then give them some kind of reward so that they are getting rewarded for coming to you and ending playtime. So things to think about while you use that command. So to work on this in class or at home, you could do this with a long line as well. You can drop the leash today in class when we practice this if you would like, but you should not drop the leash to practice this in public, because dropping the leash is not great. Puppy might get away. This is an enclosed space. Puppy's not going anywhere. So what I'm going to do is I'll ask my dog to sit. Good girl. I'll ask her to wait. Wait. Come. Yes, good girl. So I say come. She gets to me. I grab onto her collar to make sure I've got a good grip, and then I reward her. So the first couple times, I just want the dog to get to me, and I'm going to grab onto their collar. They're so springy today. Sit. Good girl. Wait. No. Sit. Good. Wait. Come. Yes, good girl. So I've got her by the collar, and I'm going to reward her. I can lure her into a sit, or I can ask her to sit, because that adds more control to the end of the sequence. She's kind of fidgeting about my hand being on her collar, so if that's the case, then what I'll do is I'll get a handful of treats, and I'll feed her while I mess with her collar. And so then that way, I'm teaching her, hey look, I'm touching your collar, but you're getting treats, and she's still wagging her tail because she's so excited about life. So things are great. Yeah, aren't things great? Good girl. So you don't need to step as far away as I just stepped if it makes your puppy break out of position before you ask them to. Sit. So I could just do Like 1 step, wait. Come. Good girl, yes. If you want to go to the very end of your leash, you may do that. If you would like to drop your leash so that you can step even farther away from the puppy, you are welcome to do that as well. Don't feel like you have to do that today, but if you practice this at home, the dog doesn't need to be wearing the leash if you're somewhere that is fenced in or you're inside your own home. If you are somewhere that is not fenced in or you are out in public, please use a leash and don't let go of that leash. You can use a long line if you're out in a field. I wouldn't necessarily recommend using a long line in Target because that's just kind of asking for it to get tangled up in a cart or in somebody else not noticing it. But if you're out in the parking lot, as long as there's no cars, again, safety first, you could use a long line so that you get more distance away from the dog to then call them to you. So you can continue to work on weight if you would like. If you are feeling like, I don't think my puppy is really understanding weight very well, then continue to focus on weight. But you can move on to working on calling them to you using the command come if you think that they have started to get the picture of weight and you want to add some movement. Any questions on that? Okay, let's work on that for a bit.